world with the undiluted Word of God.
As 40 doctors, nurses test positive. PTF, we are consulting with governors on next decision. That's one of the kicker right there under that leading story. 3 youths and general hospital doctors contract virus in Lagos. Government considers life insurance for health workers. Okay. Also inside the news, some stories here beside the picture. Plateau imposes indefinite lockdown. That's on page 7. COVID-19 punishment from God over sin, says Autumn. It's on page 30. WHO. Don't allow COVID-19 eclipse other health issues. That's on page 26. NNPC, oil producers disburse ambulances, orders to states. Lockdown, FCTA court convicts Islamic cleric, orders. That's on page 7. At the right hand side of that picture we have COVID-19 global cases. Alright, bottom strip story. Airport hotel sends workers on leave without payment. Hoteliers close shops, lay off workers amid lockdown. That story can be found on page 4. Breastfeeding may reduce viruses in infants. Find that on page 26. Okay, let's go up above the lead story. Ramadan begins as Muslims charged to observe COVID-19 guidelines. See it on page 26. Buhari to leaders tap opportunities provided by COVID-19. That story is on page 5. Couple beats housemaid to page 6. Nigeria, South Africa, others risks 125,000 jobs, $6 billion revenue. Find it on page 6. Above the masthead, Debt Management Office raises 176.06 billion now. Okay, let's go to the next one. Nigerian Tribune. COVID-19 vaccine trial begins. UK injects 2 humans. Alright. And we have a picture of a volunteer, the first volunteer in UK being injected with the COVID-19 vaccine. Under the picture, ECOWAS leaders want debt cancellation. Meet via teleconference. Make of COVID-19 response, all on page 3. Find it there. Beside the picture by the left, how coronavirus has changed Ramadan as fasting begins today. That's on page 14. And Federal Airport Authority shared 661.4 billion naira, not 780 billion naira for March. That's as they admit error. Okay, keeps 119.5 billion naira in the ECA. Page 5. 4 killed, houses destroyed as Anambra communities engage in land disputes. Find it on page 29. And then by the other side of the picture, we have breakdown of cases of COVID-19 in different states. That's as at 11:30 p.m. 23rd April. Total cases 981. New cases 108. Let's move up just below the masthead. Military destroys terrorists abode in Borno, Benue and Taraba. Kills 3. 40 health workers test positive for coronavirus, says minister. That's on page 3. COVID-19. Presidential task force scrambles to contain Kano infections. Excited with governors' position on lockdown. Find it also on page 3. Let's move up above at the masthead now. Oil prices. Okonjo-Iweala recommends economic restructuring. And finally, Lebanese who advertised Nigerian women for sale on Facebook arrested. Find that story on page 28. Join me as we move to this day newspaper. ECOWAS appoints Buhari to lead COVID-19 debt forgiveness campaign. 108 more COVID-19 cases push tally to 981. Federal government accuses China of racism. Studying governor's call for lockdown on interstate movements. Says 40 health workers infected with virus. NCDC, WHO redeploys 17 officials to Kano. ANAP seeks lockdown review to save economy. Governor Fayemi converses decentralization of pandemic battle. Warns virus could infect 20 million Nigerians. Interstate movement lockdown necessary to curb community spread. That story starts from the front page, continues on page 12, and the story says easing ports operations. This picture was taken at the commissioning of the two mobile harbor cranes acquired by APM terminals at Papa in Lagos. Happened yesterday. Buhari, Lawan, Sultan caution Muslims against mass gatherings as Ramadan begins. Find it on page 8. Let's move up above masthead now. APM terminals at Papa inaugurates more cranes, begins $80 million upgrade. Story from front page, continued on page 10. Finally, Nigeria orders turn to Sovereign Wealth Fund (SWF) savings to mitigate oil price slump. Okay, and that story is on page 5. I move over to the Guardian newspaper. Fresh calls for restructuring as COVID-19 batters economy. Alright. Ohaneze, Pandef orders demand economic diversification. Analysts urge salary cuts, trimming of bloated budgets. Story from front page. You see more on pages 4 and 5 and also on page 8. Okay. That's a picture of the commissioning of two new mobile harbors acquired by APM terminals at Papa yesterday, and the other picture is President Muhammad Muhammadu Buhari during ECOWAS summit. Okay, let's calm down. Panic as 40 health workers test positive for coronavirus. Federal government vows to fight maltreatment of Nigerians in China. Tests average of 600 samples daily. Hope rises as human trials of vaccines begin in UK. Coronavirus, you find it on page 3. Woman allegedly beats maid to death, claims suicide. ECOWAS leaders name Buhari champion of COVID-19 response. Okay, that's all I have on the Guardian newspaper. We'll hold on here and go for a quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no scientific evidence that cooking, drinking or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health and WHO.
Welcome back. We continue with the leadership newspaper, the Friday leadership newspaper. All right, coronavirus. Infected persons shown isolation centers. That's on page 6. It's our biggest challenge, says federal government. Orders private hospitals to apply for accreditation. Okay. Considers government for coronavirus. Coronavirus. Car COVID to train experts in curbing community transmission. PMB imagine UK test vaccine on first patients. Alright, above the lead story, tribute Abba. That's by Suli Abu, Clem Baye, Desmond Gobadia. Ramadan begins today. That's on page 2. Nigerian Air Force configures C-130H aircraft for special missions. And coming down, Abba Kyari, a great public servant, as an Akwa Ibom shuts hospital over doctor's death. That story is on page 5. Halting immunization will trigger pandemic. Over 40 health convicted in Abuja. Stories on page 13, 15 and 29. The picture shows President Muhammadu Buhari participating in an ECOWAS summit on the impact of COVID-19 in the region via video conference in Abuja Thursday. Okay. No threat from NLC on possible lockdown extension, says federal government. Says Buhari to decide on governor's shutdown plan. Moves to rescue Kano. Find story on page 5. Bandits kill 9 in Niger. IDP's camp swell by 3,600. Story on page 6. Alright, rest of the bottom strip stories. Malaria deaths in Africa could double in 2020. WHO warns. That's on page 24. Ramadan starts today as Buhari, Lawan, Tambuwal caution on COVID-19. Pages 5 and 29. Okoroma volunteers give Ajib 14 days over contracts. You find it on page 7. Okay, let's move up below the blueprint masthead. I won't send Kano Almajiri back home, says Badaru. It's on page 14. Ex-Governor Modu Sherif's father dies in fire accident. Page 14. Enugu Custodial Center inmates bag degrees. Wow. Find that story on page 13. Alright, that's all from Blueprint. And lastly, I have the Business Day newspaper right here with me. The Business Day newspaper. COVID-19. How essential workers battle odds to provide services. How essential workers battle odds to provide services. Foreign investor dollars in lockdown in Nigeria debt markets. Find story from front page continued on page 27 as well. Over 40 health workers test positive for COVID-19, says the health minister. It's on page 2. APM terminals Apapa lift port operations with 33.6 billion investment in upgrade. And the picture shows, like we've seen in the other papers, the commissioning of 2 new multi-million-dollar state